have a great relationship and a good project. Then we'll show you the tools. I'm sure many of you already saw our Gem site, but just to refresh, we will show you where some things are stored and where you can find some good quality content. Then we'll go into the three focus areas that we found that were kind of the biggest friction point on deployments, and where you as a partner should invest some time and effort to get good at and to give more attention on projects so you don't get surprised by that. And that's it. And then we can have a Q&A. And I think we should be done in 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. Depends on how interactive the session gets. All right? If you have any questions, just write them down in the chat, and then later we will open it up for discussion. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. Well, Snap. As I said, this has already been around since Q2 2017. We did a lot of sessions in APJ and also globally. I think it's my 4th time now in Singapore. Just want to share this with you so you can see Snap is successful. It's selling well. We have over 140 projects globally, and hopefully also the partners in the region will add up to that number in the future. This is the sales slide, which explains what is included in the Snap package. Basically explaining that a mid-market company could achieve the full source-to-pay circle by buying Snap with all the basic features, but it doesn't limit them to this solution, so they can grow as they're growing their business. It comes with pre-configured industry templates, so the customer doesn't receive an empty round. They receive a round branded to their company and also adjusted to their industry, with all the commodity codes and tiles and guided buying. There is content loaded from day one, and now depending from the region. In certain regions we have spot buy that's pre-installed or pre-deployed. In Southeast Asia, we are working with other partners to go around that lack of spot buy support here. So we're working, for example, with partners like Misumi. It's a very big punch-out supplier that will be deployed on day one of your workshops. So if you have a customer, you can already start to discuss this with them if they would be interested to have a Misumi punch-out included in their deployment. On a global level, we work with companies like Amazon, PWR, all these big punch-out suppliers that will also be part soon of the template here in Singapore. So Amazon is already available in other regions, but once they get to Singapore, they will also be available in this country. Support all the apps, so the supplier mobile app, the buyer mobile app, it's a standard. At no cost, the buyer can use that. This is what I mentioned, so content is included on day one. We also support contracts compliance. That's also part of the package. It's not a contracts module, but it has basic functionality that a mid-sized company can start with. And if they want to use more features like contracts depository, then they can upgrade to the full contracts module. But the contract spend compliance that is in Snap already has a lot of powerful features, like contract limits. You can report on contract spend. There are 3 levels of contracts that you can set up. Tiered pricing, milestones, all that is already included. We also support real-time budget check. We noticed that especially in Southeast Asia and APJ, all the customers want to have real-time budget check. There is just something to be aware. Real-time budget check is easy to deploy if you have a SAP backend, right? Because Ariba supports a lot of those transports. If it's not an SAP backend, there's a lot of custom development to be done. And we don't advise this in the first 12 weeks. I mean, you and the customer can start working on it, but it will very likely take longer than 12 weeks because it's a lot of development. So it doesn't mean that's additional cost to SAP or to Ariba, but you will just have to set the expectation that from a time perspective, it will take longer. A file-based budget check, you can use it, but be aware it's not supported in guided buying fully. So that would be the case if your customer doesn't want to use guided buying, or if they're okay to use budget check only in the professional or the P2P UI. Okay? Other than that, you can use budget check. Tactical sourcing, Kibitz and Nabai. This is also included. So for simple RFQs that the end user can do themselves without involving sourcing, or even mid-sized company doesn't even have a sourcing department, then this is ideal because the end user can send quotes out to, can receive quotes from their preferred suppliers, and they can evaluate them all in one screen and award them right after. And after that, the winning quote goes directly into requisition, and then the normal approval flow starts. So that's also part of the Snap package. Dashboards. So you can, this is really flexible. All the reporting in Ariba is available also in Snap as it's in large enterprise. So this is very powerful. You and the customer can work on different reporting. So there's a lot of reports available, but you can also customize the reports or add different or combine different reports together, put them up as dashboards for different profiles of the customer user. So yeah, that's also available in the Snap package. This one is broken. It will light up on the next click. So all the transactions are supported over the Ariba network. So basically the customer, if they are allowed to, they can get rid of paper. So in some countries you still need to have that paper trail, but it's still more comfortable to transact directly over the Ariba network. So all the document types are supported. The only limitation is that the supplier has to be enabled on the Ariba network. But with now the standard account, that's also not a problem anymore because you can transact for free with your standard account suppliers as a buyer. Okay, supplier portal. With this, we mean that you have a simple version of SLP already included in Snap. So the supplier, when they register on the Ariba network, they can fill out some basic information about their company. So you see on the screen, for example, their bank details, if they have any certification, something like this. So this is not configurable. It is as is, some basic information, but the buyer can still pull that on their side. If you would need something more powerful, then you would need to upgrade to SLP. And we also include dynamic discounting, so if that would be interesting. For the customer, you can also position that. All right, so that's the circle of Snap, source to pay in 12 weeks. If you have any questions, just put them up in chat. I saw there is one question coming. It's answered. Contract in Snap has integration with ECC contracts, or is it just Ariba only? Yes, you answer that. You can import contracts to Ariba, but no backend integration. Yeah? Right. So just to wrap up let's say the positioning part of this refresher, Snap is a consumer simple shopping site. We want to have this home shopping experience for our end users. With this, we don't want to encourage them to buy more, but we encourage them to stay compliant, to use the channels that the company negotiated, the preferred suppliers, and give the visibility of spend to the management. So this you do with smooth working tools, with transparent approval flows, and this is all what Snap is. It's designed to grow as the company grows. So you can start with Snap, but it doesn't mean you're stuck now with this limited scope Ariba solution. You can always add additional features after the first go live, and you can also add additional modules. Yeah? And we have digital supply onboarding supported. Now it's standard account, previously known as light account, and it's free for the suppliers. Yeah? So suppliers don't even have to register. This is very important to say. We get asked that a lot. If a supplier doesn't want to register, they are still receiving the POs with no limits to transaction volumes or amounts. They will just receive the PO to the email and that's it. No? But if they want to send back an order confirmation or an invoice, then they would have to register as a standard account. Yeah? It's still free. Then the upgrade to full account is happening from the supplier profile once they register, and that's where they become chargeable. Okay. Now let's see what is included in the 12-week deployment. I see standard. We pre-configured the guided buying, so the customer already starts the first day of the workshops with a pre-configured guided buying site. We set up tiles according to the customer's industry. We would brand it. We would also add the customer's background if you can find nice pictures for that. So when they log in, it would already feel like it's their system. If available, we also include spot buy. It's not the case here. So in this region, we are working with partners, as I said, to have punch-out catalogs available as soon as possible. Then the standard stuff, non-catalog purchases, custom forms, that's all there, 3 bits and a buy, maybe something on the forms. So we include 20 forms in the template. So you and the customer can then either use them for their purchasing or just get a feeling on how to purchase through forms or how good forms actually are. So here you can make an exercise with the customer and see how many free text orders they sent in the last period of time, and just see which of those free text orders can be channeled through a form. It just makes it then easier for the end user to purchase and also easier for the procurement process to just push things through. All right, acquisition approval, it's pre-configured. We load a simple approval flow, but of course it's self-service, and you and the customer then can work on extending that, or you're free to use our best practice approval flow. POs are predominantly going to light account or standard account, but it's very likely that you will have 1 or 2 or more bigger suppliers who work on Ariba with a full account or enterprise account. And because of the transaction volume, they wouldn't want to use their inbox, the email inbox, to work with that. So they will probably ask you to connect them to their full account. So this is where you, the partner, have to be competent to do that piece of enablement. Yeah? Receiving rules also pre-configured, and then is standard stuff like manual invoice entry is supported. If you have P2P invoice exceptions, all supported, just as like in the large enterprise Ariba. It's also very powerful. We have here two numbers, load 10 contracts for contract compliance. This is not a technical limitation or not a limitation, like a commercial limitation. It is just to be in on schedule for that 12-week go live. We were discussing a lot how much to put, how many contracts to put there, and 10 seemed like a reasonable number, what a general business or big market company would need, and what a partner could do in these 12 weeks. Of course, if you think you can do more, you can always do 20 or even just any number. But again, we advise to be a bit conservative here and maybe add additional contracts later after the go live. Okay. Invoice against contract is supported. So we have one integration. We recommend one integration as a standard if it's a non-SAP customer. So if they have any other ERPs than, let's say, SAP ECC 6 and higher. OK to pay and remittance integration. And you will see on the other side of the slide, we have the other integration, is PO and receipt. I'll talk about this later. Purchasing units also supported, single sign-on standard. And then we have, again, 2 numbers, and this is not, as I said before, a commercial limitation. It's just, again, it takes more time to add more languages. Even 3 languages is already a lot of work because you have to translate all the content that you are adding. And we also think that a mid-sized company won't need more than, we didn't see a company need more than 2 languages in the last year and a half or a bit more that we're doing these deployments. But of course you can, if you want, like for example, it's very realistic to expect a growing company would expand to new markets, acquire another company, and this would be another country. They would have to add additional languages to the solution, and that can be done by you later on. Okay. So here's just an example of features that the customer can have in the future after the 12 weeks deployment. So since we created this slide, many more features were added, but this is just to give you an idea what you could turn on. So as a Snap customer, they can add 4 features per year to the solution. And how this works is that you or the customer would contact us, and we would turn that feature on, but you, the partner, would deploy it. Yeah? So it's not us doing the deployment, any configurations, requirements gathering regarding the features. This is on your side, so we just enable that feature. Yeah? We make it available. All right, so I just have here a few asterisks that I need to comment on. So the ERP, PO, receipt integration, that's recommended to be after the go live if you are not an SAP customer, because it can be a bit more custom development again. If you're an SAP customer, like ECC 6 and higher, we have standard transports that are pretty much straightforward, and you can do this integration within 12 weeks. From all the additional features that you see on my right side, none of them have a financial impact on the subscription of the customer. The only one that it has is full sourcing. Yeah? So for this, the customer would have to upgrade to the sourcing module. Everything else is included. Okay, that's regarding scope. I think this is nothing new for our partners on the phone. We've been through this many times. We have, I think, 3 recordings on the Jam side around this, and I did 3 sessions already in Singapore on this. Just to wrap it up, Snap is designed for mid-market. It's supposed to be easy to deploy, easy to admin, and also easy to adopt. The whole purpose of having such a quick deployment, quick timeline are exactly those 3 points. Not to have too many features, not to have a too, let's say, complicated solution, because mid-sized companies really don't have the resources and time to invest into administration and then a huge adoption project. So better start with smaller chunks and then add complexity later on. It's a competitive price for the mid-market. When you demo, start your demos always in guided buying. So this is the starting point of Snap. It's also kind of the face of Snap. Of course, the customer, if they want to do invoicing, you can also show them the P2P side, so the old UI or the classic UI, how you want to call it. Our scripts are supporting that. And again, it doesn't cost anything. Every customer gets both sides. The guided buying is sitting on top of the old UI. So that's all included. Yeah? So that's it for that. All right. So let's talk a little bit about competence. It's very important that the partners on Snap know Ariba, know SAP Ariba P2P. This is the core of Snap. And how to achieve this is basically get certified. Yeah? This is the starting point. This is like a driving license. You don't start driving a car on the roads without a driving license. This is the first step. When you prove that you can drive, then you get a license and you can go and deploy Snap projects. I will share this presentation later on. We have links here to the Learning Hub. My mouse has a bit of lag. Just click it. And you see there's a really nice learning journey, for example, for the P2P certification. So we encourage everybody to go there. And if you haven't already, get certified. You see you have all the modules, all the pieces of the certification. Here you can follow that, and at the end, there is the certification. Okay. Let me go back. All right. Screen is loading, I see. Okay, so see the first 3 points are just basically taking you through understanding the basics, preparation, study, and then getting certified. And here on the third point, you can see it's mandatory if you want to deploy Snap to be SAP, P2P, or procurement certified. It's a great risk for the deployment if you're not certified. We also recommend to take the Snap deployment certification because the P2P certification is catered more towards understanding the core of the solution, but also working in large enterprise. That means working with shared services. Yeah. And the Snap methodology has a little shift in that deployment mentality where everything is partner-led. That means you are the one driving the whole project, and you are the only one who is facing the customer. And that's why we have that 12-week, 6-sprint, and 5-persona-based deployment. So we highly recommend you also take that certification. It's also a good start into the other certifications because the P2P one covers just P2P. The Snap certification covers the P2P piece, the supply enablement piece, and the integration piece. Yeah, that I was looking for. Yeah, so you have everything there. But of course, you shouldn't stop there. Now that with SAP, SAP Ariba CIG, all the integrations are going through that. We highly recommend that you also get that certification. And I'm sure you know that there are certain workshops happening in the region where you can join as well to get that SAP CIG training. It's 4 or 5 days, really in-depth training where after that you will be an SAP CIG expert. Here I linked all the good content we have on the GEM side, but we'll go through that in a bit. Just you can see here we have the recordings of the methodology. We have our webinars that we were doing last year. We have the forum if you want to ask any questions, and we have the playbook and the toolbox. Yeah? So I think on this slide you have everything that you might need to become competent at delivering Snap. But always if you have any questions, you can reach out to your regional contact or to the Snap COE and we'll clarify. Okay? All right. So next one. While the slide loads, we'll talk now about how to work with the Center of Excellence. So you can already see on the picture that we are all in the same boat. Maybe we'll get a little bit wet, but at the end we'll be, after the 12 weeks, safely in the harbor. But to do that, we need to follow some ground rules. So before you start a project, we will always ask you this question. Is the customer aware of the Snap scope? Yeah. And we also ask you, are you aware of the Snap scope? Because these are the two crucial questions that need to be answered, so we don't get any disappointed customers during or after the deployment. In this last year and a half, we discovered a couple of cases where the customer was not aware and they were expecting all the features and a lot of support from Ariba, where actually with Snap it's not the case. It's a limited fixed scope deployment, 12 weeks, and it's partner-led. So you have to be really transparent upfront with the customer what you're offering and what the scope is. But you always have to explain it's not a limitation, so they can grow after the first go live. What we've seen is that partners are phasing the deployments in multiple phases. So you can we saw 4 phases or 4 go lives on certain deployments where they were adding for each additional go live, additional features or additional modules. So that's absolutely no problem. We just want the first go live to be within the 12 weeks and get a quick start and adoption, and then once the customer gets more confident with the solution, they can start adding more features. Also, we would like to review your SOW, so scope of work, what you have with the customer, if it makes sense, if it's doable in 12 weeks, and most importantly, to check if you didn't commit to anything that cannot be done in the 12 weeks. And you see the last point is what we just discussed now in the previous section, is you need to be certified. You need to have certified resources on the team. If that's not the case, you need to have certified resources that you can reach out to. The Snap COE is not a training team. So if you ask questions to us that we can't answer, we have to read the manuals and then provide you the answer, but so can you, right? All the manuals are available, and all the certified consultants know that there are manuals and where to find them. That's why we really need certified resources on the project. Okay? All right. Regarding communication on projects, we have now 2 dedicated emails. One is for general inquiries, where you can always reach out to us. Also, if you're not deploying, right, just if you have any kind of questions, maybe to validate your scope or anything related to Snap, you can just reach out to us. If you have a customer, always keep the customer's name in the subject so we can easily follow up and we know which customer this is related to. We usually take 2 days to reply. Most of the time we do it much faster, but we get a lot of emails during the day, so that's why we have like 2 days to reply, like a safe net. And very important, we are not a customer-facing team, so yeah, that's it. We're not a customer-facing team, so don't put us on calls with customers, or don't add customers to the emails. All that. We are supporting you, not the customer. And then we have another one for customizations. So you know that you get 5 customizations with Snap. You don't have to use all those customizations, right? It's not a challenge. Try to push back on all the customizations or challenge the customer if they really need them. If they need them, then fill out the CRD tracker that I linked in this presentation, and it's on the GEM site, and send it to the snapcrd@sap.com. We'll take a week to implement that customization. So first we'll check the feasibility. We will let you know how many customization this would consume, and then we will implement it. Okay? And this takes about a week. Okay? Project status check. We really want to follow some basic project management. We need an issue tracker that you maintain. We have provided a sample, but if you have in-house any issue trackers that you need to use for your management, or a customer has an issue tracker, feel free to use that. We just want all the issues listed in one document, so we don't lose sight of what was opened and what is closed, just to be able to better support you. Okay? Status calls. If needed, we can schedule a weekly status call. If not, also okay. It means that you are running good with the project. To have the status call, we would need you to send us the issue tracker in advance so we can review it, and we have some time to find the answers so we can prepare to the call. Only by doing this, the call can be very efficient. Otherwise, it's not that good. And that's it. And we don't have to have those calls, right? So if you feel that in a certain week you're doing well, you don't need any answers from us over the phone, we don't need to have a call. It's not something that we need to do. Now, another hot topic, SRs, service requests. It's very important that in the preparation phase of your project, you assign or you find out who is the dedicated support contact or the DSC user on the customer side. Normally, by default, Ariba would put there the person who signed the contract, and usually that's a CFO or CPO, and those people won't do SRs. So it's your job as the partner to guide the customer to assign somebody from the customer's project team to become a DSC. Can you mute this? There's somebody. Sorry, there was just some background noise. We will mute everybody on the phone. It's also recommended that you get the DSC role assigned to you so that you can just work faster when you create SRs. But the only thing here is you need the customer's email domain. Support will reject anybody who doesn't match the customer's email domain when they request a DSC. So if the customer can provide you their email, then you can also be a DSC. We have here everything explained, how to create a SAP Ariba Connect profile for the DSC or for the normal user. So just you can click on this and you get taken to our wiki page. Then we have instructions how to create SRs. So we don't want you to create SRs on asking how functionality is working or random SRs that something's not working. An SR has to be very well documented, and the first step should always be that you consult that with us, with Snap COE. Present us the problem, and then we'll discuss if it's something that we can help you with. And if not, we will ask you to create an SR. And in this article, you have very well described how you actually should create a good quality SR. So you should always provide the user ID, document ID, which steps you took to get to that problem, screenshots, and all that. By doing this, you accelerate the resolution process. Otherwise, you will just go back and forth with our support organization because they need all the data to help you, right? So if you do this in the first step, then you already saved at least 2 weeks, okay? There is a question in the chat. The call with COE will be at European hours. So we are, for now, yes, but this means that for us it will be early morning. Yeah. But from August on, we will have a resource in Singapore, and then it will be also more flexible for the partners in the region to schedule those calls if needed. For now, we are just limited at the Prague time zone, and in August we'll fix that. Okay. Tools overview. So I'll jump to the GEM site now. Okay. If anybody on the call is not a member of the GEM site yet, just send us an email. We will add you. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Okay. So the GEM site is our central point for content sharing and collaboration with you. We have here everything from enablement on Snap, to forums, and to also all the tools that are helping you to deploy to demo content that you can demo, and also details for certification. So if you just go one by one, on the top you see our digital enablement sessions that we recorded in October last year for this region, and this is now shared with the global partner community. We have 5 webinars, and you can see here, for example, procurement persona. You click on that, it takes you on the page lower to procurement persona. You have there the recording, you have the content that we shared, and you have also explained what this training is about. All the recordings are stored on YouTube, so it's easy for you to watch them on any device, and also you can share them with your colleagues if needed. Okay. And this is a really good step if you're looking to do the Snap certification. Yeah, we would really encourage you to go through this so you know why we have those 12 weeks and 6 sprints, and what does it mean persona, and what does the AP persona do, for example. Yeah? It's something that you should go through before you start with the projects. Here we have forums. You can ask questions there. You can also answer them if you know the answers. In this section we have the SOW best practices. So we have samples of what you should do when you're offering Snap, and also the Snap SOW. What should you include there? So basically, if there is a recording you can listen to, and then you can also review the content that we have prepared here. So there's a lot of things to read here as well, a lot of samples. I will do the playbook and toolbox at the end. This is the kind of the core piece of this the Snap Dem site. Let's go now to the demo corner. So here in the demo corner, we maintain demo scripts. See, we have 3 levels. We have the beginner kit, where we just have videos, again stored on YouTube, which you can share with customers or internally. Then we have the intermediate kit. This is the one we recommend for you to start with if you want to demo Snap. It covers basically everything from purchasing, the supplier side, invoicing, and then processing the invoice in P2P. Just follow the script, please. Don't try to invent the process by yourself, because the demo system is configured only to support the data from the script. And then there's the advanced kit. This is when you don't have access to our Nimbus site. It's an InVision click-through demo, and it also can be used with customers. It's a really nice demo that our colleagues in LATAM did for us, so you can use that as well. And then recently we got a really nice demo script from James Marland that has also really good talk track next to it. So it's not just the process, how to purchase, but also the conversation you can have with the customer while you're demoing. So I also recommend you to go through that. Then you see here some passwords. So these are the passwords for our suppliers. Always, when you see that the password is not working, please stop your attempts and email us. It happens that these get locked quite frequently. And then it's just not nice for another partner in another time zone who is preparing for demo and they cannot access the supplier. So always just reach out to us. You can write it on the comment section here or reach out to the email that is provided here. If you don't have access to Nimbus, reach out to our email and we'll discuss if you are eligible to have access to our demo site. Okay? There are some details about certification, and I will not go through that. We talked about this before. Here we are tracking the go lives. So see, globally we have 29 go lives. And here you can see the webinar recordings. So last year we did 15 webinars, and they're all stored here. for your convenience, so you can always go and review those. They are usually 1 hour, 40 minutes to 1 hour long, and they are dedicated to certain topics that were hot at that moment. Of course, we start with the basics, deployment philosophy, and all that, positioning, and then we go a little bit into pre-configuration as well, and configuration. That's that. Now let's look at the playbook and the toolbox. This is basically the where the prescribed deployment methodology is stored. Yeah? It should be in your favorites in your browser at any moment. We start with Sprint 0, so here we just explain what you should do before you start with the project. Like I mentioned already today, get a DSC, get the spend data. We will analyze the spend data, give you feedback which suppliers are on the Ariba network, and then we just prepare for the kickoff. Yeah? We have now something new. It's a sample project plan, which we added a couple of months ago, and you can also review that. It's laid out similarly as the toolbox layout below here, per sprint and per persona, and all the content is linked. I can even open it up. Okay. So this is the project plan, and you can see there are 3 task types, 3 color codes: educate, create content, and execute. And then you see in the timeline that in the beginning, of course, you have to educate the customer, then you're creating content, and then you're executing. All the sections are linked to the content on our GEM site. So, for example, catalogs. Click on catalogs, it takes you to the dedicated section to catalogs, and we have really good content here. Everything from static catalogs, punch-out catalogs, and also advanced topics as CMS rules, for example. And we also have here instructions how to load catalogs into the FPC system. So all Snap solutions are coming with multi-ERP. That's why we just describe it here as well. How to quickly push catalogs into the system. Okay. Maybe I'll just show you quickly where the playbook is. So before I do that, I'll also show you here in the toolbox what I mentioned before already is the quick catalog section. So this will be very interesting for this region because there is no spot buy. We are adding our supplier partners to this section and also the instructions how to connect. We have descriptions, what they're offering, what is their assortment of products. And feel free to download these and share it with your customers or potential customers, so prospects or customers. For Singapore and the Southeast Asia region, Misumi is a really good candidate. They support most of the countries with a lot of products. As soon as we will add more, we will add them to this table and we'll notify you through our channels. Just not to forget the playbook stored here. And these are the instructions on how to conduct workshops, what to discuss in the workshops, when to place the workshops on the schedule. Yeah. But anyway, all of that is explained in our webinars. So please go to the webinars and listen to this part there. All right. That's regarding the tools. Now back to our presentation. Are there any questions? Don't see any. All right. Okay, so as I said before, we're doing this now for almost 2 years, and there are some lessons learned. And if you kind of summarize everything, we have 3 focus areas where we see the most friction, and we need the partners to focus on those areas. Either it's in project planning or getting more competence or more knowledge on those areas. So the first one is integration. So you see there are 2 pictures, and the left one is what we don't want to see. It's looking very complex. It's not a 12-week deployment. Yeah? We want what is on the right side, basically a plug and play. With this picture, we mean CIG. And we want to signal to you that the CIG is the way forward, and you need to get CIG certified to be able to do that, to do these projects. And now my colleague Jiří will take you through the learning points in more detail.
Okay, so before you start implementing CIG, you actually have to look back, and you have to look at the master data. So you know that most of the ERP system, they will have lots of data that is not needed in Ariba. And what you should do, you should cleanse the data before you start integrate them, because if you get all the kind of messy data in Ariba, it could cause lots of problems. So one of like really important point, and not just for Snap, but even for large enterprise, is to review the data, make sure there are no duplicates, make sure that the data you load are only relevant for those purchasing or buying channels that will be used in Ariba, because there is no reason why you should load all the data that are in the ERP system to Ariba as well. So this is something important. We have the document is called Integration Tracker. It's a very good document where it's a little bit complicated, but we will provide you with a link where you can actually check in our GEM site first a high-level overview of master data, so you understand how it looks like, and then you can go to the Integration Tracker, which looks more complicated but provides you with good comprehensive information around what the data you need and how the data looks like. The Integration Tracker is also very helpful now to tell you where to load the data, and that's related to the second point, which is the multi-ERP. So Matic already mentioned that from this year, all Ariba projects are multi-ERP, which means when you get the pre-configuration from us, there would be 2 sites available for you. One is called parent, the other one is called child. And due to this, there are some slightly different ways of loading the data, and the Integration Tracker actually nicely describes where to load what files. So the reason why we introduced, or Ariba introduced multi-ERP configuration is to allow customers to grow in future. So if you have maybe a mid-sized company that will purchase another company that has a different ERP system than SAP, they can buy another child, which could be different variant, and that will basically allow you to integrate another ERP system. With previously the configuration, which was just one single realm, it wouldn't allow you to basically make this a simple adjustment to the standard, to the process. So what we do, what we have on GEM, we have a standard guide, which is like 88 pages, which is quite good. But we also made instructions based on the input we received in this year when we have FPC. And so the most questions we've seen, we have created special guides, and Here is an example of user creation. So when you create user in FPC, you can create user that has access only to parent, only to child, or both. So depending on requirements, we have basically provided you with the instructions in our gem. So that should be much easier for you to set it up. So now we go to the CIG, and CIG is the main point of integration from now on. With CIG, you can integrate ECC version 6 and higher, and S/4HANA on-premise. At the moment, there is a limitation that S/4HANA on cloud is not supported. This should change next year. In terms of CIG, it provides you with a faster way of integrating the ERP system than the previous methods. At the moment, there is one limitation that you should consider, and it's the first point I have in the limitations, is the mapping tool, which is not available at the moment. And what mapping tool does, when we discussed that a customer has up to 5 customizations, so you can imagine that there is a requirement to have extra field on requisition, and then this field should be passed to the ERP system on the PO export. Because this is custom field, it's not part of the mappings in CIG, and this mapping has to be custom built. So at the moment, you would have to create a ticket that would take maybe 2 weeks or maybe even more, it depends on complexity, before it's processed. So it's very important to realize this limitation and plan it so it doesn't have any impact on the go live, which we want to avoid. This mapping tool will be available this year, so it's just a limitation, just temporary limitation. Yeah. So the last point is a part of the integration is the ITK integration for SAP ERP systems. Here, basically, there is loads of work that needs to be done on the partner or customer side, because ITK is just a tool that can pick from one folder Ariba data and load it into Ariba. So you would have to basically design the extractor programs and make sure that the programs are creating the files in correct structure. So with ITK, you have to be aware of this, and it will take longer to integrate than with SAP ERP systems. And let's scroll.
So we have a question.
I just did it correctly. The mapping tool. Yeah. So basically, the mapping tool. Assume that the client ECC system has customized field. In this case, mapping tool won't be able to support. No, the mapping tool will be able to support custom fields if they need to be exported. But at the moment, this mapping tool is not available for us, actually, even like Ariba people. It's available only for engineering. So you have to create ticket to get this mapping done. This tool will also be able to truncate, for instance, the length of the field or concatenate. So the tool will be able to do several different things. The issue at the moment, and it's just temporarily, it's not available and you have to create ticket. So if we speak probably maybe next time, this limitation will not be in place anymore. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. So the second point is the configuration. So we want Snap to be the car on your right hand side. When you try to learn how to drive, you want to learn how to drive on a standard car because you don't have experience, and with the experience, you know how to choose a new car or how to improve your current car, and you probably want to avoid the car on your left-hand side, which is tuned in very funny way, maybe. So with Snap, if customer goes live with a standard scope and they don't overcomplicate, they would actually realize that maybe some of the requirements that they had at the beginning, they don't need them because they found a way how to do it, or they found a way that it's not actually necessary. So the first point is really part of the configuration is stick to the Snap scope. Advanced features are available, and we can enable up to 4 after the go live, so you don't have to actually create a ticket, which again could take several days or maybe weeks before it's enabled. So we can enable these features for you in like a faster manner, and so you don't lose time implementing. But we will not help you to explain you the feature. You should know how the feature works. So we just enable it because at the moment you don't have access to the system to do it yourself. Customizations. There are 5, and Matic already mentioned. There are 5, but it's not competition who's going to have more customizations. It is really keep it simple. Have customizations only if they're really needed. Because we know that there are some industries that would require customizations, so they are there available, but try to challenge customer when they have some complicated requirements. Another point which we noticed is quite important, so we put it here, is decision on what commodity codes should be used in the system. So you know that Ariba comes with UNSPSC, and there is a possibility that these codes can be replaced with custom codes, but that decision should be made at the beginning because it has it has other implications, and the implication is basically you would have to do extra mappings for different features. So here we just put example that if you use custom codes and you want to use Ariba Network catalogs, those catalogs most of the time comes in UNSPSC, so you have to do mapping from UNSPSC to custom. Also, if you want to use tactical sourcing and guided buying, there you have to do mapping from custom codes to UNSPSC because the quote is going to a supplier on Ariba Network, and there they also recognize UNSPSC codes. Plus, there are some other small challenges in guided buying in order to make the search works. So that's why decision on commodity codes is very important. So yeah, think about it at the very beginning. Another point we noticed requires some extra attention. Maybe you should reserve a little bit more time than you planned in your project plan is the tactical sourcing. So it's a very powerful tool, but you can you have to follow the guide in very precise way. Otherwise, we would have to basically do loads of troubleshooting. So we made a nice guide that once we send you this presentation, you will be able to find it on Gem. That describes how to create supplier in P2P, how to create supplier user, and how to link supplier user correctly with the supplier, and how to make the suppliers qualified or preferred, because this is prerequisite. The last point, or next to last point, is use pre-configured approval flow. Here we actually have good experience, and we don't get that many questions. But really, the approval flow we have in place is really good. You can extend it, but don't overcomplicate again. So the last point are the taxes. So if customer bought Ariba buying and invoicing, reserve extra time for to enable the tax engine, which basically consists of 4 files. But again, we have instructions in our gem where you can find how to load the files, what the files should look like, what's the structure. So just make sure you review that because before you load it. Yeah. So, and the last point is the content. So even if you have brilliant and perfect solution, or like in this case, you have a good shop, without any products, or in Snap case, without any catalogs or content, solution is really useless. So what we've noticed that it's probably because partners are not used to do the supply enablement activities. This part of deployment seems to be underestimated. So we really recommend having a person who's gonna be responsible for enabling suppliers and enabling the catalogs. It doesn't have to be very technical person because this is more about communication, following process in terms of communicating to customer and to suppliers and connecting them together. So we really recommend having a person that's gonna take care of this this area. So once you enable these suppliers, that gives you access to create contracts, to create catalogs. Now you know that if there is no spot buy, there is an option for quick catalog, and that list of suppliers that would be available for punch out is going to only expand. Also, let's say the third point are the forms. So forms are very helpful. Because the worst purchase is if you allow users to create non-catalog item, which is just a blank form where they just type whatever they want. The best idea is to avoid this by creating forms. You can create one generic form, you can link it to multiple commodity codes, and just by providing commodity code and description, user will be easily able to find this form in guided buying, just searching via keywords. So this is something very helpful. Forms now even support non-purchase related activities. So you can have a form, example could be holiday request or sub-vendor creation in the ERP system. So something really not related to purchasing, but also is utilizing same engine that's where you can create the forms.
Okay, that's it. That concludes our session. Now let's open it up for questions. If you want, we can unmute the line and you can speak up, or you can place the question into the chat. If nothing comes up now, so don't worry. You have our contact details on the screen, and you can reach out to us or either via email or via our GEM site. If you don't have access to the GEM site, please reach out to us via email. We will add you. Okay, seems we have no more questions. So we would like to say thank you for joining us today, and good luck with your Snap deployments, and see you on the next project. Thank you.